Welcome to the Nurburgring Combined Gesamtstrecke 24-hour layout, a legendary circuit combining the Grand Prix Strecke and the fearsome Nordschleife. With over 150 corners, dramatic elevation changes and zero room for error, it's the ultimate touring car challenge. These TCR guides are ideal for newcomers or anyone needing a refresher on braking points, gears and racing lines. Guide timestamps are in the description below. Join our free hosted practice every Monday afternoon European time, and check the links below for the TCR Core Community Discord, packed with TCR tips, races and leagues. Throw a like onto the video, subscribe to the channel, comment what you're racing with or if it's Nürburgring 24 week, the name of your team, and turn notifications on so you do not miss another video. Before we start the lap guide, a massive thank you to Logan of ATC for providing us with a clean, quick lap. So today, learn from his clean inputs. Here we're going to have races that will test your consistency rather than raw power. Let's get you refreshed on the circuit if you know it, or teaching you the basics if newer. We start at the Grand Prix Striker. When we pass the 150 board on the service road, we brake heavily, aiming for a wide entry to open up the second half of this makeshift chicane at Yokohama S. Patience on the exit with the throttle as you aim to use as much of the exit as you can with a straight wheel. As we approach the next left-hander, unlike the full GP layout, we are braking later towards the end of the cones. Trail braking in and carrying your speed through, the trail brake will help you get to the left-hand side for a late apex entry of forward curve. You want to flow smoothly through here to keep up momentum down the hill to Dunlop Care. My suggested braking point for Dunlop is about a car's length into the curb. Careful here if it's raining though. Carry the speed into the corner for a mid to late apex. You'll be taking a lot of corners like this to make the most of the TCR front wheel drive. When you feel confident that you're not going to overrun it into the kitty litter, pedal to the metal. The Schumacher S, nice and easy. You can ride both sets of curbs with your foot firmly down on the throttle. Just be careful not to overdrive the second half, as too much of that apex is an off track. The following left-hander is a sharp spike of brake at the 100 board before gliding the car in. Take that inside curb if you can and get yourself over to the left to open up Bilstein curve. An exit here is so important when fighting. The long straight that follows is an important one when either attacking, defending, or letting faster traffic go. I should note to newcomers to multi-class racing, make yourself predictable to said faster traffic, and most importantly, keep your cool and do not panic. It is their job to facilitate a safe pass, but use common sense and watch for flashing lights to ensure that everybody survives the long grueling races. Just past the 50 board is a good place to brake for the faster of the two chicanes. Keep two tyres on the grey stuff to ensure you do not get an off track or slow down. After hugging the next corner tight and raising yourself into the Nordschleife, this is where the fun begins and it's you versus the track. Just after the Nordschleife pit exit, dab the brakes and roll the car left down the slight drop into T13. The track will suddenly feel narrow with no room for mistakes. After a shallow right, you want to keep to the left of the track to open up the next right. Try not to clip the curb, it does get deadly. Next up we have a slightly shallow left, but you want to get onto the brakes as we enter Hatzenbach. Too many miss the braking point and end their races so early. Precision is key around here, as well as throttle and brake modulation. Let the car and corner camber do the work as we get into Hochhagen. On the last chicane you can really swing the car out and confidently full throttle out to some much needed straight road. Providing your car is stable, speed on ahead. The following straight, named after the local village Kludebach, is the calm before a potentially dangerous crest. In faster cars you can get some air, but in the TCR you want to position your car to the middle left of the tip, shifting right through floodplaats. Light inputs are needed due to the lightness of the car coming off the momentum of the top of the crest. Most importantly, please just stay composed. It is full throttle here until you meet the tricky Schliedenkreuz and Arenberg, a perfect place for faster traffic to get by safely. The upcoming lifting point we'll be looking for here is the line of dark tarmac on the corner entry, keeping your line tight to the inside of the deceptively quick left-hander. Just before that dark tarmac ends on corner exit, get onto those brakes quickly for Arenberg, getting down to third and sweeping the car around the right hand corner. Use the tiniest of the high curb on exit to maintain your speed and to keep the car steady. That was your warm up and rhythm test before things get much faster and narrower as we dart down Fuchsroll. Now the car compresses hard, grip loads in, and many TCRs go flying into the woods if you get it wrong. This section is a mix of sheer speed, aero loading and technical braking zones. You'll need to be full commitment and precision, no room for ego here. Down the hole and up into Aldener Forest, a place where I myself take it cautiously. Brake halfway up the incline, going down the gears before each apex curb, and you want to drift wide to open up the penultimate corner. Heavy steering lock in to open up the final corner, and when confident, drive out accomplished, as that's one of the trickier parts of the course that requires plenty of practice to be smooth and quick through. This short section's all about flow, just stay clean and balanced, clip apexes lightly, don't chase the curbs. The upcoming Metzgersfeld section is relatively simple, only requiring a light brake and lift on the approach to the second tighter left. It's when we enter the Kallenhard complex where things start to get a little more interesting and unforgiving. To start the complex, a light brake before the curbing starts on the right hand side. Use the camber of the corner to throw the car out of the other side as we start driving along the mountainside and forest. We'll start approaching the Dreifach right, which is a double right. You absolutely must modulate your inputs at. The runoff on the exit is small and the walls are extremely unforgiving. On the approach to Vierseiven, look to do the majority of your braking before entering the dip. It's so easy to overrun the tightest left on the lap, but you'll know when you've done great when you're able to hug the inside curb and slowly apply the throttle for a clean, smooth exit. Whilst you're still there, cleanly and smoothly hit the thumbs up, subscribe and turn notifications on for even more track guides. The X-Müller section catches many out. Brake early and adopt a slow in, fast out attitude whilst using all of the road. A light amount of brake when travelling up the steep hill is enough. You can hit the throttle sooner than you think. Understeering isn't a problem if you open up the corner enough on entry. You've just cleared one of the most demanding rhythm sections of the entire Nordschleife. Next up we're travelling from the Bergwerk to the Carousel. This section is critical. Get it right and you'll carry huge speed all the way through the valley to the Nordschleife's most famous corner. Speaking of famous, this is also the location of the track of Niki Lauda's horrific crash. As we enter Bergwerk, a deceptive right-hander, braking in a straight line and late apex to make the most of your exit. If you're wondering where the next braking point is in this section, it's not for a while. Kesselchen is flat out with flowing corners. Go with that flow, hugging the apexes lovingly and straighten the car over any sharp pieces of elevation. The The only corner that will give you trouble here is mud curve, but it only needs a slight light lift. Position your entry into the corner as open as you can to maintain your momentum and speed. We're gearing up to brake at the end of this long section, specifically just before the start of the left hand curbs before the tight right hander. It's easy to miss that braking point and go wide, but play it safe over the course of your race, tight and composed around Veloster and Stilstrecke. And now onto the most famous corner of the entire circuit, the carousel. Brake in a straight line and throw yourself into the concrete banking of the corner. Commit to the groove and do not, I repeat, do not climb out early. It will bounce you wide and destroy your momentum. You've now reached the halfway point of the lap. This section is all about rhythm and grip. The corners come quickly, the camber shifts constantly, and the consequences for mistakes are severe. Now this sector, you'll be carrying strong momentum into the final third of the lap. Time to start climbing up Hohe Acht. Short bursts of throttle and smart precise lines are key to making this section clean, sending the car out wide at the top of the hill to open up that tight right hander. Speed out of the corner and head through the kinks. Slight lifts and using each corner to set up the next will keep you safe and free flowing through the upcoming Wipperman and Esplash. Patience is a virtue through these two sections. Do not overpush or overdrive, and aim to keep it tight to the apexes to keep to the flow of the track, just like the streams that lay next to them. Next up is Brunchen, also known as YouTube Corner. Just a little curb on the exit before getting over to the right hand side for the deceptive east curve. Apex that corner in the middle and aim to keep the car in the middle of the track on the exit. This section combines deceptive grip zones, blind crests and fast drops. It rewards commitment and punishes hesitation. Many drivers bin it here, don't be one of them as we drive deep into Flansgarden. You can be more confident on the throttle here, just having to keep an eye on the jumps and keeping the car stable after mounting curbs. The second half of Flansgarden is more of the same, but with a deep drop before a fast right-hander. Keep the car straight on the drop and do not overreact turning into the corner so you can keep your vehicle stable and maintain speed and momentum into the Beloff S. Pedal to the floor through the Stefan Beloff S with minimal steering input, keeping it straight hitting the apex of each corner, using the metal fence beyond the wall on the right hand side as a braking point into Schlebenslantz. Braking before slowly applying the throttle on a late apex exit, you want to be aiming to get onto the right hand side as soon as possible to open up the following turn. Be careful not to clip that inside curb too much as it can unsettle the car and throw it out wide. A similar technique needed in the Klein Carousel as you used in the first one, diving low into the concrete bowl. Take care not to fall out of the groove too quickly as you lose your momentum. Double apex the double right hander of Glaugenkopf with lifts and modulation of the throttle to not run off the circuit. Get this corner perfect and you'll have the advantage down Dottinger Ho. This is the final setup. You need maximum focus and the biggest toe opportunity of the lap. Let's bring it home with the final setup of the Nurburgring Combined TCR guide for officials and the Nurburgring 24h. A great run through that last corner sets you up for overtakes or defends on the mighty back straight. Stay tucked left or draft and defend on the mid to right. If you're behind another car, this is your golden overtaking zone. Use the slipstream wisely. Keeping to the left from the beginning though also makes you predictable and out the way of faster traffic coming by in the multi-class races. You still have a few corners left, starting with the Tiergarten high speed kinks. Full pelt around the first left-hander, you can get away with going full speed through the following left and right whilst keeping the car as straight as possible, and get onto the brakes hard as soon as you pass that full speed right apex to navigate through the final chicane. Use a bit of the service road to open up the turns, then all you have to do is just flow through. You can now breathe. You have completed what will be the first of hundreds of laps practice that you will put in here. A massive thank you to Logan for supplying the lap. Find the Alpha Touring Car Discord in the video description below after hitting the thumbs up and subscribing. I'm not the quickest in the vein, but the next lap is both a good baseline to beat and showcases alternate lines and where puddles merge in wetter conditions. And now for those who drive Audi machinery, here is a lap just for you. Massive thank you to Patrik for supplying us with their lap. You can find a Discord for the Apex's Lava, aka Tail, in the video description below. An absolute must Discord if you like racing around this legendary circuit. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe and explore the channel for more content. Drop a comment with what you're racing this week and check the video description below for links to Discord, Twitch and more. See you next video, take care of yourselves, most importantly, take care of each other.
You